I've been thinking, yes, I know, always a dangerous thing with me, but with the introduction of seasonal classic era style servers, you know as well as I do, it's just a matter of time until we start seeing more of them, with TBC more than likely being the second edition. But is that how it really needs to be? Blizzard have now opened their doors to the option of introducing literally any expansion they want, and it not needing to follow on from previous expansions. I've spent all day today researching private servers heavily, and actually I've learnt a lot, which to say I'm a private server player when not playing Classic is quite surprising. There's some really big private servers I hadn't even heard of before, and some smaller ones with really cool systems in which also I hadn't heard of. I'm less interested in what these private servers are, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you what they all are or how to play them. I'm more interested in the actual numbers of active accounts that they have. Reading an article which was published between Nostalgia shutting down and Classic WoW launching in 2019, it was predicted that from sample numbers, there's a staggering, and I say staggering, 1.3 million people playing private servers. Looking at a more recent article by DKP-, where you can get add-ons and stuff like that, and they do general private server news, they estimate that being closer to 1 million. This is still a huge number. I mean, there's places like Warmane which have over 30,000 active players. I don't mean concurrent, but even concurrently they have amazing numbers like upward of 5,000. What you need to remember is this is only one provider when I'm talking about Warmane. Then think Circle WoW, Endless, Atlantis, Sunwell, Tory, Unlimited WoW. I said I weren't going to mention them all, but there are just so many private servers and lots of them that they've got extremely active player bases. These are active player bases that want to play that iteration of the game they love but can't because Blizzard doesn't provide the service. I tell you what, the one that shocked me the most is there's even a relatively populated BFA server. I mean, really? Is there actually a decent amount of people wanting to play that? You probably didn't think there is, I didn't think there is, but there is. Don't get me wrong, I think the private servers are a great place to go back and experience an expansion you perhaps missed. Like me, for example, I'm looking forward to going on a Legion server because I missed the entire expansion, but what I would prefer is if it was a Blizzard launched seasonal Legion server. Of course, I'd prefer it in an official capacity. You get where I'm going with this. Blizzard has just given themselves the opportunity to go, look guys, Wrath of the Lich King is so popular, there is maybe 200,000 private server players just on Wrath servers. We could pull a big portion of them back as paying subscribers. Let's launch a seasonal Wrath server. This doesn't need to affect the timeline of how Classic is progressing, and neither does it have to be Wrath. They could launch a Mr. Pandaria seasonal server so it's miles ahead of where Classic is right now in its timeline, and trust me, they get a lot of people back just to play on that as a seasonal server. Mark my words, it really would increase the amount of subscribers overnight. The fact is, people play on private servers because they can't get it anywhere else, and for the majority of people it's not actually some moral stand against this small indie company called Activision Blizzard who they don't want to give their money to. Let's be completely honest here, so many people say that TBC private servers are better or were better than the Classic release of TBC, but most of them have got a dwindling, if not completely dead population because people can now get it in its official capacity. No more need for TBC private servers, although some people are still playing on them, but just not the amount that there was. Now, Blizzard very rarely surprise me anymore. In fact, the majority of the time they're doing extremely predictable things in a very predictable order. Like I said at the start, we'll get Classic seasonal, then they'll add TBC once they've nailed down the relaunch of the seasonal Classic server. So once they get that over and over again, they'll be confident enough to launch TBC, so on and so forth. This, in my opinion, is a mistake. Let's get Classic fresh seasonal going, then pick a random expansion which historically done well. Maybe not Wrath, purely just because Wrath isn't actually that far away in the grand scheme of things in terms of Classic timeline at the moment, especially with us being sort of on our way to Tier 6 now. You know, Tier 5's been out for a little bit, you know, next up Tier 6, then TBC's pretty much done. Alright, Sunwell, but you know what I mean. But do Legion, do MOP, do Warlords of Draenor, any of them, any of those, even if you don't remember them very fondly, it will probably bring you back as a paying subscriber, just to try it out, see if your memory is as it is today. I mean, one day in the not so distant future, we really could have the option to play any expansion at any time we want, maybe even playing multiple alongside each other if we've got time to do so. Here's the negative comment down below, the one that someone's typing right now. It won't work, it will split the player base too much over all these servers and they'll feel dead. I'd say wrong. All these people are already split up all over the place, but just not paying Blizzard to do so. There will be, and please, if you are one of them watching now, comment, let me know, who would activate their sub right now because Wrath Seasonal has just been announced. Or let's even go wild, let's say Warlords of Draenor has just been announced. I'd play a WoD Seasonal server just to experience it again, for sure, and I bet there's some of you out there who would do the same, just because you've not got to do it for so long, you know. There's not that many WoD private servers, let's be honest. I want to end this video talking about what is considered and said to me a lot as one of the worst expansions ever launched. Cataclysm. The biggest issue with Cataclysm was content drought, along with some systems maybe not being for everyone, myself included here. When we think about the talents being squished down a little bit, it was a bit boring. It weren't quite as bad as when we got the mop talents, but you know what I mean. That's the one part of Cata I never really liked. Oh, and Vash as a zone, who did. With an increasing leveling speeds and content coming faster, I truly believe a seasonal Cataclysm could change the way we remember it. The heroics, when first launched, had to go through many nerfs over time because they were extremely challenging for the average under-geared group. The PvP seasons in Cataclysm are remembered by many as some of the best seasons in the game's history. Then from a raiding perspective, aside from the length of time we spent in Dragon Soul, the raids were challenging. They had fun mechanics and some really unique loot that dropped from them as well, which I'm sure many of you remember. I could sit here and talk about all the expansions we don't remember in the best of light, but for me personally, the thing that always puts a damper on these expansions was content drought or imbalance. With having seasonal servers bringing raids faster and having them all in their final patch state, that eliminates both of these things. Then we're just left complaining about pet battles and pandas, but that's a different story. Like I said, I was going to end this video on Cataclysm, but give seasonal achievements. There, now I'm done. Now let me know your honest opinion on this. If it's negative, let me know. Even if it's negative, I'm all ears. Remember, my main point in this video is how popular private servers are and how Blizzard could be pulling a lot of these people to pay them money instead of buying XP boosts or mounts or whatever else these private servers offer to get money out of people like me. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button and check out my second channel, SJ Gaming Live, where I'm actually preparing a little bit of a change. Well, not a big change, but there's going to be a wider sort of type of content going on there. So there'll be a lot of Wrath content, because if you don't know, I'm actually actively playing... There's a fly. A lot of Wrath content, because if you don't know, I'm actively playing Wrath servers, actually. But, you know, streaming tips, hardware reviews, basically all of my channels squashed down into... Well, I was going to say 2, but actually 3, because Safe Sounds as well. Check that out and subscribe to Safe Sounds for your copyright-free music. Subscribe. Until next time, peace out.